Welcome to part one of vacation rentals and how to do them. Part one is titled Scouting the Area, okay? And I guess we could say scouting the area economically, right? Trying to figure out, hey, where should I build a vacation rental? Or where should I buy a vacation rental? In my case, I did actually build both of the houses, right? I scouted out the land, looked for what I wanted to build, and then I built those homes. You don't have to do that. A lot of times you can buy a home that is already built, right? There's advantages to that. In fact, let's talk about that for a second. So the benefit of buying an existing home is a lot of times you could probably get the furniture with that home, which is a big expense, to be honest. When you furnish a whole home, that's a lot of money, okay? Versus, building a home, now you have to start from scratch. The benefit of building a home is you get exactly what you want. And in the case that the houses that I've built, what I would do is also have closets and area that were locked and built ahead of time for me, right? So that I can store some of my personal items there at that home. It's locked off, I don't have to worry about it. I would build these houses with the full intent of renting them out, so I would make master bedrooms, multiple master bedrooms in the house, right? As opposed to normally you just kind of do one master bedroom, that's the nice room, and then there's other homes. The way I build them is I build multiple master bedrooms. So every room will typically have their own bathroom, which is a huge selling point, right? But let's go back to, hey, how do I find a place to go, okay? Where do you want to build or buy your home at? That's a very good question. So I personally like areas that appeal to more of a national audience, okay? For example, the homes that I own, one is near Zion's National Park, right? It's the third highest national park in the country. And so there's a lot of people that go there, okay? The other place that I have a home in is close to Yellowstone National Park, which is the second highest, place. I think the first highest is Yosemite out in California. So the benefit of being near a national park, or again, another big draw, like obviously Disney World or Disneyland, those are big draws, right? The benefit of being close to those areas is the pool of people you're pulling from that want to rent your place is larger than, say, if you were to look for a local place, right? I live in Utah, you could possibly say, hey, there's a couple lakes that I want to live by, it's maybe an hour or two from my house, I'm gonna go build up there. I think that's a great idea. Just know that the pool of people that have even heard of the lake you're talking about are probably just local people, right? And so you're not going to have as huge of a draw as you would in, say, a larger area, okay? A place that a lot of people want to go to, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? Here's my big secret. Here's what I do to try to figure out where a good area is. And I've researched a lot of areas. My wife is from out east in the south in Georgia. And so one of the areas she wanted to build, one was in Savannah, Georgia. It's a great place. I ran the numbers and it didn't quite make sense for me, okay, at the time, right? And again, it may make sense now, right? But it didn't make sense at the time. And here's what I do. So here's my big secret. So one of the things I do is I look at Airbnb or VRBO for an area that I'm interested in, okay? So let's say, in this case, Savannah, Georgia, okay? So I go and I look at Savannah, Georgia, and I look at all the homes that are listed on Airbnb or VRBO, and I look to see what's out there, how big of a home it is, okay? And I try to figure out, number one, how much, that home would be worth, okay? Try to figure out a market value for that home, okay? The next thing that I'm doing is looking at Airbnb and VRBO to see how often it's rented out, okay? Which, the nice thing about calendars is they list that home's calendar right there on Airbnb or VRBO, okay? And so you can see how much, volume they're doing, okay? Sometimes a home just has a whole blocked out like 3 months and there's like no days available. I don't use those ones because my guess is that's a personal home during that time, right? And so I wouldn't count that. But you can tell when you're looking at VRBO or Airbnb, you can look at their calendar, and if there's an occasional day or two in a month that's vacant, right? Then that's probably a good sign that the other days are actually rented out, okay? Because, sometimes when people are booking, there'll be a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that that doesn't quite get booked out, right? and so that day will be open, and it's only a single day or 2 days, and so it's hard to book. And so you can kind of tell if those days are booked, right? So you're able to look at their calendar and kind of figure out how many days in a year are booked at this home, okay? That way you know if you're looking to build or buy a similar home, you know kind of what you can expect. You also can look at their home and see how much they're renting it out for. Maybe during the summer or other peak seasons, they rent it out for a higher amount versus in the lower, off seasons, it's a lower amount. Work up an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Pretty basic stuff. Go in there, figure out how many days it's rented, figure out what the cost is, how much you can charge, and do those things to be able to figure out, hey, does it make sense to build a home in that area, okay? Like I said, in my situation, when I was looking at Savannah, Georgia, the cost of the home versus what I could rent it for, it just didn't make sense for me, okay? I think I would have still made money, just not as much money as I was kind of looking for, and so it didn't make sense, okay? And that's from investigative things I did on those other websites. Again, kind of a nice secret, because there's no platform out there, at least not currently, that says, hey, here's a great place to build a home, right? I mean, again, this is you're kind of a pioneer, right? I mean, these are still kind of new products, and so you're looking to see what's out there and how to do them, right? You're looking to see, what things you can build, okay? So what areas are best to rent in. So this is something you want to do, is looking for places like that. So that spreadsheet that I was talking about, I will put a link to that spreadsheet, the one I use personally. Again, it's nothing like fancy, but maybe it'll at least give you a starting point for what I use to kind of determine if it makes sense to build or buy a home in an area and rent it out, okay? It's a great spreadsheet. I use that, again, with how much I can rent it for, what my potential costs are for the home, and then obviously the income that I would be potentially making. I look at kind of a high and low, and depending on what makes sense, that's what I use.